So I was driving to this place called Juanita Beach, and then as I was driving I saw a sign off to the side of the road that said St. Edward State Park. So I thought I'd pull in here and check the place out. And I have to say that if you happen to hear some kids screaming or crying in the background, it's because there's a giant playground here that a bunch of kids are playing. But I thought this would be a good place to stop and rest. They have public restrooms, and thanks to me having the Discover Pass, that means I can thanks to the Discover Pass, I can park here for free. I don't have to pay to park here because I already have the pass. That's good for a year. So like I said, there's that noise in the background that there's a bunch of kids playing here out in the wilderness, so that's what all the woo sound is. But I just am enjoying the day. You know, surprisingly it's June, but I do have a sweater on because it is a little chilly here in Seattle. And let's see, and it's, you know, it's been raining, so big surprise there, right? So let's go ahead and see what's going on around here. Pretty neat. I actually just saw a squirrel a few minutes ago, so let's see if we can see that squirrel again. I do like, definitely, sometimes when I come out here and I do this like outdoor wilderness thing, I'm usually the only one that's ever out here, which you might find surprising because it's like you'd expect lots of people to be out here enjoying this. And that is why I like coming into nature, to kind of be out here alone with my thoughts. A lot of story time videos are usually done out here in the woods, although I've never been here to this location before. But I will keep it in mind to come here again because I think it is very beautiful, very peaceful. Aside from the kids screaming woo in the background, it's just nice to come out here. I don't know if they offer any sort of camping, because like I said, this is my first time being here, so I think this is just like a day use park. But let's go ahead and have a sit down talk, shall we? Okay, so for some reason, I don't know why, but it crossed my mind that maybe there are snakes out here. I've never really encountered a snake when I've been out on these hikes. The only times I've ever encountered a snake in the Pacific Northwest, that is. We're not talking about rattlesnakes back in Arizona, but there were snakes. Eek, what's that? Oh my gosh. Okay, let me show you. This is a slug. Slugs can grow to be 6 inches or longer, I believe. It's like a snail without the shell. But from far away, it might look like a little piece of doggy doo-doo, but then it starts moving around and it kind of freaked me out. I'm not sure why somebody spray painted this. Seems to be like an unhappy face. There's actually a big tree that has been uprooted over here. Look at this. So actually there's more than one here. Kind of interesting. So back to what I was saying about snakes. The only time I've ever encountered a snake in the Pacific Northwest is when I was in Oregon and I went to the Klamath Falls. And then when I was living on Orcas Island, that's up in the San Juan Islands, up in the north part of Washington. I was out just for a walk, walking down the street, and a snake jumped out onto the sidewalk where I was walking. Well, it didn't jump out, but obviously it slithered out. And so I'm walking down the street and the snake caught my eye. And so I immediately did some sort of weird, like, you know, jig where I was like, ah. And so I'm sure any car that drove by at that moment probably saw me just walking normally, and then suddenly I did this crazy arm waving jig. Looked like a crazy person on the side of the road having a freak out. But it was because of the snake, okay? Now, here's something that's kind of very concerning. It is telling me that this area is closed due to a hornet's nest. So we absolutely do not want to go over there, do we? So let's try to get out of this area as fast as possible. Yes, so far we've encountered a slug, some hornets maybe. Let's see, gotta watch where you step, because, you know, I don't know why I'm convinced that a snake's gonna pop out here any minute, but it was freaking me out. Okay, there's also, I don't know if you can see, there's also like a lot of mushrooms out here. So let me see if I can show you this one. So even though we're kind of like right in the middle of summertime, I was reminded of a story that I'm not sure why it crossed my mind, but I was thinking of a time, you know, some of the videos I've done have been about bad jobs I've had, maybe even bad relationships. And I'm sure there's like a whole lot of videos out there that you can watch on YouTube where people are griping and complaining about their job or complaining about a bad date they went on. So how about we add a little story to that algorithm, and I will talk about dating someone. And you know, sometimes when people ask, why did you break up? Or what was the reason the relationship ended or didn't work out? You know, sometimes it can be that one thing that really like makes you think I give up. I'm not going to do this anymore. But a lot of times there'll be the little things, right? The little things that add up over time. Ooh, and let me real quick show you. Looks like we've got some fresh grown berries. So very neat edible berries. I'm going to pause here for a minute because there's a family with a little kid walking by. I don't want to be filming them. You know, sometimes when I come out in the forest and it's been raining like it has, I have this plastic tarp that I lay down that I can sit on, so I could actually sit out here in the forest without my pants and stuff getting all wet. Right now, I left that in the car, so I don't have it with me. So I'm gonna try to find a spot to just stand here a bit and film. But I am, like I said, noticing there's like families and children all around. That's great, it's very family friendly, but I feel very weird about it. I don't want to like film anyone without their permission. So that's one of those things where I'm definitely trying to find somewhere to be private. And I've probably said this before, but sometimes I feel like kind of like obnoxious to be like, look at me and my camera, look at me and my selfie stick. Like, this is obviously the life of a YouTuber, right? But it's just sort of embarrassing when someone sees you like out filming and you're just like, you know, talking to yourself. So I do want to show kind of like how amazing it looks out here. You know, wherever you look, there's green. And as much as people probably enjoy sunshine, I like the fact that wherever you look, it's just like beautiful and green and there is no sun shining on me. I have spent many years of my life living in the sunshine of Arizona, and I've had enough. I'm done. I've had enough of the sunshine. I think I'll be just fine without it. Look, here's like another mushroom. So let me get started a little bit with this story that I was thinking about. Like I said, this is summertime, but the story has a lot more to do with something that happened during the winter. So for anyone that is maybe not familiar with Seattle, they have these boats that go out on the water, so they, you know, you can tour around the water. And so at Christmas time they have a Christmas boat, and the Christmas boat of course gets all decorated with Christmas lights, and they play Christmas music, and you know, there's people singing Christmas carols, and it probably sounds totally corny, right? But for whatever reason, you know, it's something that, you know, it's something to do at Christmas time, something I thought would be fun. So the person I was dating at the time, you know, one day out of the blue, he said, hey, do you want to do that Christmas boat thing? And so I was like, yeah, like I've been really wanting to do that for a long time now. And so I got all excited about it, and you know, it was the sort of thing where it's like, to me, it's like a special occasion, right? It's the holidays, it's Christmas. So I went and I bought like a brand new dress. I was gonna get all dressed up for this thing. So I bought like this nice velvet dress to wear at Christmas time, and then, you know, high heels and all that. So I was gonna get all dressed up for this thing. It was something I was really looking forward to, as you can imagine. And so, you know, it's the sort of thing where, I don't know, it's like I went and told everyone I know that I'm gonna go on the Christmas boat. You know, I was bragging and all that. So then the night comes, and so I'm all dressed up, and you know, I go over, I meet him at his house because he's going to be driving for the rest of the night, and he tells me we're going to stop at my friend's house first, and they're going to come with us to do the Christmas boat thing. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we go over to this house, which was clearly like somebody was having a Christmas party. There are all these people there. I didn't know anyone. They were all his friends, not mine. So, you know, no one's talking to me. I'm not talking to anyone because nobody knows who I am, and I felt like they're just ignoring me, and it's hard for me to jump into a conversation when people are talking about things that I don't really know, you know, the people or the subjects that they're talking about. So, you know, I'm just sitting there and I'm waiting, and you know, he said that all his friends were gonna go on this Christmas boat thing with us. So I'm starting, you know, I'm looking at the clock and I'm thinking like, you know, it's getting late, like don't we need to hurry because we're gonna miss the boat, right? And I figured, you know, we need to get on the boat by a certain time. And I'm someone that, like, because I like to plan ahead, I went and I went online, I looked up, you know, what the sailing schedule was, you know, and it usually tells you have to be there at a certain time to board the boat. and then it leaves at a certain time. So I already in my head had this all planned out because that's just the way I am. So, I'm like looking at my watch and I'm thinking like, okay, like, don't we need to hurry soon? Like, when are we going to go do this, Christmas boat thing? And so finally, like, I don't want to be a nag, but I ask him, like, aren't we leaving soon? We're going to miss the boat. He's like, we can go whenever we want. And I'm thinking, like, how can we go whenever we want? Like, they're not going to hold the boat for us. So he's like, well, we're not going on the boat. And he's like, we're just going to stand on the shore and watch the boat pass by. And I thought, we're just going to stand on the shore and watch the boat that I wanted to go on pass me by? That's what we're going to do? So, not to mention that, here I'm thinking, like, standing on the shore, it's not like you're on the beach. There's these big rocky boulders. So I'm thinking, like, so I'm going to have to, like, go out, climb these boulders in my high heels to watch some boat pass me by. Not to mention it's December. It's, the Pacific Northwest. It's cold. It's rainy. It's almost so cold that it's gonna snow. So it's basically like sleet. It's sleeting out. And I'm thinking, like, so we're gonna stand out there in the cold and the rain. I didn't bring a big heavy jacket because I had assumed we're going on this boat and that I got all dressed up fancy for. Of course, as they say, to assume things. Well, I assumed wrong. So, of course, we finally leave. We leave the house, a whole group of us. We go, we stand on the shore. It's pouring rain. It's cold. I'm freezing. At this point, I want to be like, how much longer are we going to stand out here? Like, I'm thinking, like, why did we even come here? Like, I was like, I can't even, like, choose to go home if I wanted to, because now I'm not even, like, in charge of, I'm with a group of people that I don't really know very well. They're the ones driving. We're just standing out here for like a good hour in the rain, in the cold. I have no jacket. The guy I'm with doesn't offer me his jacket or anything. To be standing in a velvet that's getting soaking wet. I'm basically just sitting there thinking, like, this is ridiculous. Like, when you asked me to go do the Christmas boat thing, I had no idea you meant we were just going to watch the boat pass us. Meaning we're going to watch all those people having fun on the boat pass us by, and we're standing out here in the rain. So let me just say, I'm not going to say that we broke up then, but that was a factor into the numerous things that had occurred that led to the eventual breakup. I do have to say that eventually, while we were all standing there, he tells me that all his friends wanted to go to a bar afterwards. And I'm thinking, okay, great. Finally, I hope this bar is an indoor bar. I hope we're not going to be out on a patio somewhere. So, it seemed like almost from the time that we left the shore to the bar, I had completely lost my voice. I had a sore throat. It was like laryngitis had kicked in. I started having like cold and flu-like symptoms. I started getting a fever. Just being out there in the cold for that long had somehow caused me to become sick. I know they always say, like, going out in the cold weather and the rain doesn't actually cause you to get sick, but something happened because I basically lost my voice. I was sick for maybe like the next 2 weeks after that. I was like in really bad shape being exposed to the elements like that. Yeah, I'm sure, like, if I blame that all on him, that's not really fair. But, maybe I would have gotten sick anyways. Maybe I happened to just catch a bug at the same exact time that we stood out there in the rain. But man, now when someone says we're going to do the Christmas boat thing, I'm going to make sure that they're very specific about what that means. That means you already have tickets to this boat. You have reservations for this boat. We're leaving at this time. These are the clothes I need to bring, a heavy jacket or whatever. Don't wear high heels. Now I know better.